Also, it was one of the first Disney films to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. The other one being this film, Treasure Planet. It's about a young man called Jim Hawkins and the crew of Captain Amelia who found a secret map and goes out to find the treasure that is explained in the map. Along with them is a cyborg cook named John Silver, who would teach Jim about the value of friendship and the power of dreams, a robot buddy codenamed Ben, and a little pink morphing thing. What the heck is that thing anyways? Directors John Musker and Ron Clements pitched this idea during the development of The Black Cauldron, then again after The Little Mermaid, and again after Aladdin. The reason that they re-pitched was because they were assigned to direct more Disney films than they thought, like The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. When they were assigned to do Hercules, they agreed only if, right after they're done, they can make Treasure Planet. For the animation, the directors made a rule called the 70-30 law. This law was to make the film look 70% traditional and 30% sci-fi. They have to use 3 different types of animation: hand-drawn for the human and humanish characters, computer animated for Ben and Silver's arm, and the deep canvas technique for the ship. They also use maquettes for references of the characters for the animators. To make the maquette of John Silver's arm, they used plastic and cut it with laser technology. For the music and sound effects, the 70-30 law was also for those 2 things as well. Composer James Newton Howard recorded all the music in less than 5 months. Sound designer Dave Davis said that he and his team scoured hobby shops and junk stores for old wind-up and spinning toys, so they can make the sound effects for John Silver to avoid slick or sci-fi. On its release on November 27, 2002, it was the first major studio feature to be released in regular theaters and IMAX at the same time. By critics, it got some good reviews, but everybody pretty much said the same thing. The visuals are amazing, but the dialogue sucks. In the box office, well, how can I put this? It bombed. But there was a reason. It was in theaters at the same time as Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Gangs of New York. If my film would be against them, I'd crap my pants. Money-wise, they only got a total of almost $110 million worldwide. Sadly, they lost money because the budget was $140 million, and the marketing cost an extra $40 million. So in total, they lost more than $70 million. In 2003, they released the last Disney film to be made in Hollywood studios in Florida, Brother Bear. The story is about an Inuit boy named Kenai who killed a bear for revenge of his older brother. The spirits got ticked at him, so they transformed him into a bear. Now he must live like a bear, but at the same time, he learns some valuable lessons. Also, he meets some other animals like a bear cub named Coda and the moose Root and Took. Originally, Coda was supposed to be an older bear named Grizz. He was pretty much like Coda in the story, you know, showing Kenai the woods, and they're both like brothers and stuff like that. The moose, Root and Took, are actually moose versions of SZTV's well-known Bob and Doug McKenzie. Heck, they were voiced by the same guys who played Bob and Doug, Rick Moraine and Dave Thomas. There was supposed to be a spin-off TV show of them, like what they did with Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King, but that got quickly scrapped. The film was almost all hand-drawn, except for the CGI salmons and the caribous. Actually, that caribou stampede scene kind of reminded me of that wildebeest stampede scene from The Lion King, don't you think? Anyways, since the animation studio was in Disney World, the animation team went to Fort Wilderness to draw and paint the forest, and they brought real bear cubs to the studio for live drawing sessions. When Kenai would turn into a bear in theaters, the aspect ratio would turn into a standard widescreen into an anamorphic widescreen. They even brought back singer Phil Collins to do the songs for the film. He even sang some songs in different languages like French, Italian, German, Spanish, and in Japanese. On its release, it was way more successful than Treasure Planet, I can tell you that. It earned more than $250 million worldwide, and an extra $167 million on the DVD and VHS sales. The critics, however, gave it mixed reviews. It even got mixed reviews from the Christian fundamentalist. Some didn't like it because it told about a world of spirits and spiritual equalities of humans and animals, which was pretty different than in the Bible. However, some like the US Conference of Catholic Bishops praised it because the philosophy is similar to the one from St. Francis of Assisi. In 2004, they went on to release their last hand-drawn animated film, or so they say, Home on the Range. The story is about a greedy outlaw who took possession of the Path of Heaven dairy farm. In there, 3 cows, a horse named Buck, and other talking animals have to do everything it takes to save their homes and their butts. The entire production began after the release of Pocahontas, and in August 2000, they announced it as Sweating Bullets, and it was scheduled for a fall 2003 release. On April 2002, they changed it to Home on the Range, and as for the release, they had problems with the story and the production, so they swapped the release dates with Brother Bear. Also, the writers, Will Finn and John Samford, suggested the film to be based on the myth of Pied Piper, and Maggie was supposed to be a deaf girl. Michael Eisner then asked the one question that everybody would ask if they know the myth of Pied Piper. What kind of parents would let their kids watch a movie where kids get murdered? So they rewrote it into this. But there are some elements of the myth that are in this movie. When it was released, it reached a new low for Disney. Out of all the reviews, they were literally 50-50, and it was a major bomb at the box office with more than $103 million worldwide. Disney wondered why they lost their touch. Suddenly, they look at other animation studios like Pixar, DreamWorks, and Blue Sky and realized why. They're the only animation studio who makes hand-drawn animated films while the others are making highly successful computer animated movies. So they announced that they'll only make computer animated films from now on and closed down the studio in Paris in 2003 and in Orlando, Florida in 2004. Today, the Orlando studio is now a Disney attraction. Enter Chicken Little, Disney's first computer animated film. It's about a failing chicken that makes his baseball team win, who finds a piece of the sky and finds out that the sky is falling and his town is being invaded by aliens. So it's up to Chicken Little and his friends, Ugly Duckling, Runt of the Litter, Fish Out of Water, and more characters who are named after expressions to save the entire world. It's as cliché as it gets. This film is only loosely based on the tale The Sky is Falling. The only thing that the movie and the fable have in common is the sky is falling idea and the weird names of the characters. Originally, the opening scene with Chicken Little and the acorn was all supposed to be hand-drawn animated, and Don Knotts, who plays the mayor Turkey Lurkey, narrated the entire sequence. Later on in development, they screwed the hand-drawn idea and made the acorn part the main idea of the movie. As the first computer-animated Disney movie, they brought in some new hardware and software to the studio. For the hardware, they have new electronic screens that allows the artist to draw digital sketches of the characters to rough out their movements, which are then transferred to the 3D characters. For the software, there's Chicken Wire, where the animators can stretch and squeeze their characters, and Shelf Control, where the animator can see the entire model of the character while having access to any area of the character. This would be the last film that Don Knotts would do until his death on February 2005. When it was released on November 4th, 2005, it did better at the box office with $135 million in North America and an extra $179 million from the rest of the world. As for the critics, it's something that Disney doesn't want to talk about. But either if it's good or bad, it will always be in motion picture history, as this is the first ever film to also be in digital RealD 3D.